Welcome. Thank you for joining me for a few minutes as we continue to talk about a area of shared concern and interest, and that is how can we be a good friend to the country of China and effectively produce the product for China or the relationship that we're desiring. I was asked recently to teach a course on cross-cultural communications and relationships for a graduate school called Rockbridge. Any of you that are interested, you can take this course online. If you'll write to me, I'll be happy to put you in touch. And I'm sure that the school would be delighted to have you join. It's actually a fully accredited graduate school. You can earn your master's and doctorate degree. But that particular assignment has encouraged me to share some basic thoughts which are seminal to effective relationships. What are the differences in various cultures? Now, obviously, in the class, we'll talk about worldwide themes and national relationships, but here I want to focus on China. What are some of them that we can expect? First, how do you view time? Those that know me understand that my personal bias is that if you're early, you're on time. If you're on time, you're late. And if you're late, you're persona non grata. Now, I have a right to that opinion. But that doesn't necessarily mean that it's the right opinion in every situation. And when we commit ourselves to work in a cross-cultural environment, this is just one area that we need to accept. Others have different cultural values. And in their culture, everybody understands it. For a number of years, we were serving in the country of the Philippines. The first few times I did a seminar, I was shocked. I'd show up 30 minutes early. I don't think the leaders were even there. The door probably wasn't unlocked. At the starting time, people began to filter in. And if we were expecting, say, a group of 300-400, there might be 30 people. And everybody seemed quite relaxed. Nobody was worried. And then about 30 minutes or more after the starting time, or the declared starting time, somebody might start to sing a song or begin some opening words. And an hour or so after the declared starting time, the event would actually begin. Now, is that wrong? No. It's just that starting at 2 o'clock didn't mean you started at 2 o'clock. As I can understand it, it pretty much means at 2 o'clock you start to get ready. Maybe start working on your hair, get dressed, make sure the dog has been fed. And it's just a totally different mindset. Now, do I like it? No. In my mind, if you're going to start at 3, why don't you just say 3? 3 is as good as 2, but that's not how it's done. And if we care about the people, and if we care about our business in relation to the people, we need to understand that, and we need to accept it. What about the issues of community and individualism? We here in the West pride ourselves on being part of the rugged individual. The cowboy who rides off into the sunset, his gun and his horse and his muscles. That's all he needs. And we admire that particular man. He's the man's man. That's the way things should be. Well, in many cultures, including in China, oh, not so. Nay, nay. They would say that the individual is likely to be in trouble. In fact, you don't want to stand out in front. We say the early bird gets the worm, they say the early bird gets shot. So there's value to holding back the community versus the individual. What is your role in the individual? And do you know your role and do you play it well? Another common saying in China is roughly translated: when the emperor is the emperor, the governor is the governor, the father is the father, and the son is the son, there will be order, decorum, and harmony in society. We would say, yes, this is where I am now, but I want to be here. You may feel that way in China, but woe be to the one that says it, even hints at it. That is not a strategy for advancement. That's a strategy for isolation. So your role in the community versus rugged individualism. How do you view time? The issue of face. We've talked about it before, but it bears repeating here. As we work on cross-cultural communications, compliments are important in the West. In some cultures, they are mandatory. You often, at least in my mind, I see it as a game. You play a game of, I'm going to out-compliment you. A student comes up to you, and that student is a leader in their sphere. And after the class or over a dinner together, that student leader will say, oh, my professor, I may be able to succeed with you providing your wisdom. And your appropriate response is to say, well, as long as I have excellent students like you, then maybe that will help me become a better professor. They say, oh, no, sir. And then, then it goes on and on and on and on. Now, my advice to Westerners, by the way, is when you go into many of these cultures, don't take compliments too seriously. If you do, you'll be viewed as a buffoon. It's meant to give you face. It's meant to show respect. It's an element of kindness. But don't think for a minute that, and certainly I won't if you join my class, I won't think for a minute that you view me as a combination of Bill Gates, Albert Einstein, and Picasso. You be nice to me, I'll be nice to you, and we'll get along fine. But some cultures put a much different spin on this issue of kindness and gracious words than we do in the West. Know your position. Think through issues of time. Think through issues of warm relationships, of individualism versus community. And let me just mention one more. What is the value in a culture of gift giving? This could be an entire class session, easily. In China, the giving of gifts is not just appropriate, it's essential. For somebody to show up at your home without a hostess gift is almost untenable to them. And in turn, we're expected to reciprocate. And We can view in the West gifts as a one-off. Not so in the East. In China, there's a mental record kept of every gift that's given, who it was given by, the assessed value of the gift, and then the relationship. Was the value of that gift that was given appropriate to the person that was buying it? Some gifts can almost be an insult. You can afford so much more. Why did you only give me this? Our attitude in the West is, it's free, for crying out loud. Forget it. And for us to ask the price of a gift is considered a poor upbringing. Not so in a country like China. There's many reasons for that, but one of those reasons is that when I receive something, there's an assumed responsibility to give back something of like value. Now, is that a crass exchange? To the Western mind, yes. It destroys the whole essence of a gift. If this isn't your paycheck, this isn't just something I happen to give to you. It may be expensive, it may not, but accept it and move on. In the East, particularly in China, there's a responsibility that attends the receiving of the gift. And so it becomes quite important to understand it to the fullest. I'll share a funny story and then we'll stop. One year around Christmas time, I had this brilliant idea of inviting, I think there were 6 guests. If I recall, there were 3 couples. And they were, in our world of work, they were somewhat people of status, certainly at the city and provincial level. But they were friends, and I genuinely viewed them that way. So after dinner, we all came to the hotel, and I happened to have a little extra room in our hotel suite, and so we sat at the table, and I did a gift exchange, Western style. Now, here's how it works. You have a whole bunch of gifts, and then you draw numbers, in our case 1 to 8. And number 1 gets to open any gift they want from the pool of them that are wrapped. They open it up and go, ooh, ah, that's nice. And then person number 2 has a choice. They can either pull from any of the unwrapped gifts under the table, or they can take the gift from the first person that opened one, because now they know what it is. And most of you have been through this. And then you go number 3, now you have 2 open gifts, so the ones under the tree. And then if that person with an open gift loses theirs, they go pick one from under the tree, or they can steal one from the other person with an open gift. Well, in America, it's just fun. You know what I learned? Even in what was supposed to be a humorous, lighthearted experience. And even though I'd explained what happened in America and how this worked, there were some people at that table who looked at a person that was superior to them. And even though everything about the environment was, you go get that gift, they looked at me and they simply shook their head and said, I cannot do that. Even in a spirit of fun, taking somebody's nicer gift, especially when you ranked lower than that other person, was absolutely, culturally, not a bridge they could cross. And so we like to think that we'll change people, but what we often hear as we really become acquainted, We've done teaching, whether it's a professor or a lecturer, and we've developed a relationship in cross-cultural world. They know what we have told them they should do and think. They can rehearse it. But that doesn't mean that within their culture they can actually implement what we've suggested. So please don't think that just because you lectured or taught that you're going to change a culture overnight. Not going to happen. So it's best that we learn and put ourselves to the extent we can in their world. Thanks for listening. Always good to be with you. Bye for now.